a bit much, isn't it?
Hi everyone, and welcome to a new video. Yes, I'm a bit bright today. I definitely can't pull this off at my age, but who cares? The Giro is on and almost full pink for me today. I was watching an episode of GCN Tech with Ollie and Alex, and they were discussing bike fit and toe overlap. Ollie made a statement that really got me thinking.
There are kind of two schools of thought within bike fitting, broadly speaking.
Okay.
One church of bike fitting comes from Phil Burt, who's been on the channel a lot.
Yeah.
Now, Phil Burt's bike philosophy often revolves around bringing the rider forwards, like shorter cranks, opening your hip angle, having, say, less layback on the saddle, bringing you more forwards over the front of the bike into more of like a sort of pursuit aero position. And as part of that, he often endorses more of like a mid-foot cleat. A more sort of long-standing view of like optimum bike ergonomics and fitting is having your cleat further forwards underneath the sort of ball of your foot, where you imagine you push off if you're sprinting, and that then reduces that problem because you don't have your toes then clipping the front wheel.
Yeah.
So GCN said there's two schools of thoughts, but you can argue there would be thousands of interpretation of cycling, because everyone would ride for their enjoyment, endurance rides, performance rides. In a way, you can pedal as you want, as long as you don't have an injury. Who's anyone to say that you have to change your position? So that's one thing. The second aspect is, if you want to go faster, if you want to ride as the best of your capacity and explore what your muscle can do, that is a completely different argument, and there's only one settings that has to be implemented. Yeah, this is at least my view. And guys, I hear you saying, who are you and why should we listen to your suggestions? Well, I am self-taught, and I, from the beginning, started to tweak my position to get as fast as possible. I came to cycling from other different sports, and I was very frustrated at the beginning. You know, everyone was mocking me, especially here in Richmond Park, and my attention was straight away implemented into finding the best position where I could actually perform at least similarly to my friends. And I'm happy to say that I can stay with some of the youngest riders in my group. And guys, sometimes when you see on Strava your times up in the leaderboards on the day, even on highly contested segments here in Richmond Park, I think I found really an efficient position, and I believe I can prove myself even if I'm not competing or I don't have any real results to show you. Today I'm going to do something slightly different. I just want to give you some indication, some signals that to me you're not in your best efficient position. And everything starts with the cleats. I've done a specific video on how to set your cleats, and it's been proved quite successful, and to me that's the key for your best performance on the bike. When Ollie says that there's a school of thoughts of putting the cleats under the ball of your foot in a forward position, that's something in my mind that will detract your power, put you in the wrong interpretation of the pedaling motion. And although you might be happy cycling that way with no injuries, you will not have the best efficiency possible because your muscle will not be able to pull down the full power. The first telltale that your cleats are too far forward is that your toes, your front of the foot is grabbing the shoe. You'll have a lot of pressure under the ball of the foot. The forward part of the foot also will have too much pressure, so you might have toe numbness, cramped toes. This is all correlated to cleats too far forward. And at the same time, because with that position you will end up inevitably pushing the pedal forward and further away from you, most of the time, to stabilize your ankle, your calf will have to work too hard, so you will have possibly cramps on the calves. From behind you will see your calf muscles working too hard, being very rigid. You will lose power and overall performance. Yes, I'm a big fan of a rear cleat positions, not necessarily mid-foot. For example, on my Shimano shoes, I position the cleats as far back as they go without changing the mounting slot, so they are backwards enough where the axle is behind the fifth metatarsal, and for me provides the most stable platform to push down the power. The instep tendons, these are the telltale for you to know that your ankle is stable, and at the bottom of the pedal stroke the foot can receive the full pressure for your muscle. Yeah, and it's almost like a squat performed with elevated heels. That's more or less the ankle position that you want to recreate when you push hard on the pedals. Fundamental for your power delivery after you set up your cleats is being in a forward position. This will allow you to be on top of the bottom bracket, pushing the pedals downwards and backwards rather than fighting your bike in pushing forward and backwards. Yes, you don't want to be closed as a clam, you don't want to reach for your handlebars because you are sitting too far back. You really want to be almost in an aggressive position, like a sprinter on the block. This will allow your muscle to work together, quads, glutes, hamstring at the bottom of the pedal stroke, to really produce the best power you can.
I also need you.
Oh, thank you, mate. Cheers. Nice bike. I'm sure you can measure with angles, with expensive equipment. To me, nothing is better than adjusting your setup on feel. What I look for in the pedal stroke is to have this motion of directly pushing down on the pedal stroke in the power phase, and at the bottom of the stroke the famous scraping the mud off your shoes in full control, where you can push in that moment backwards to continue the smooth power delivery. I can see a lot of riders that possibly, in my mind, they are sitting too far behind, that push the pedal in a forward position with a very closed angle on the ankle. It will not allow the best power delivery for your muscles, because what you want is really convey the full force on a stable ankle, almost like you had the ankle in a cast in the power phase. And the telltale for you to understand whether you are in the right position or not when seated is to do an exercise where you lift yourself up from the saddle. Your ankle, under the pressure of your weight, will naturally lock. That's the best way to understand the feeling. So you will do, maybe in a slight incline, do some out of the saddle efforts, and then come back on the saddle. If there's a big difference in the way your ankle reacts, in the way your foot can sustain the power when you push while seated, then you're not in the best possible position, because what you want is as close as possible power transfer from standing up on the pedals and be seated. There's no point in being able to push 1500 watts sprinting out of the saddle. Then when you come down, when you can't generate good power while seated, well, you ruined almost 90% of your ride. Of course, being too far forward can generate some tension on the ligaments of the knee, on the patella. So in that case, yes, you want to tune up the sensations you get from your body and make sure that you don't overexert yourself. Because yes, all the pro riders are now sitting further forward, but then they are young athletes and you don't want to ruin your body before the time. Of course, to achieve the best power transfer throughout the pedal stroke, the key measure that you have to nail is the saddle high. So in this case, to understand that your saddle is not optimal, you want to look for these telltales. First of all is your shoes. You might be too high, the cleat are pulling the shoe away from your foot. Under the sole of your foot, the pressure is lighter because yes, it's like the shoes want to complete the movement and it's not you pushing the pedal as hard as you can. Also, if you find yourself not being able to maintain a cadence while pushing hard watts and only be able to do burst of efforts, is another indicator that the saddle is too high, you lose control of your leg at the end of the stroke and you won't be able to sustain a smooth power delivery. And of course, saddle sore, any problem relating to the saddle, 99.9% is that you are too high. So the pressure on the pelvis is increased because it's like you are perched up on the saddle rather than almost flowing above the saddle. Avoid that discomfort that a saddle too high can cause. Guys, I'm a strong believer that even a millimeter here and there can change a lot, and you want to look for the signals that your body is sending you. So especially the legs, if quads, glutes, hamstring, they are all tied in the same way, if you have exerted in the most efficient position, you will have the full leg that is completely sore without any imbalances. If you feel that your hamstring are pulling or if your quads are burning and cramping, there's something wrong. You're not pushing with a full leg down the pedal stroke. Wow, I'm ruining my look with the stains from the sweat. Yeah, I'm actually pushing hard because yeah, it's always nice to ride along Richmond Park. There is no alternative. If you want to push hard on the bike, if you want to stay with your faster friends on the group rides, you need to put the work in your position. Cycling is definitely a strange discipline. It's the one and only sport that I found there's no clear indication on the technique, on how you have to pedal. It's really left to interpretation. In my opinion, too much to interpretation, because if you start boxing, the instructor will tell you this is how it's done. There's no other way to push power behind a punch. Yes, there will be different styles, but again, a style is defined from someone that learned the trade at very young age. So if you are start cycling and you haven't started when you were 6 or 5, then you have to stick with the correct technique. And in my mind, it's not taught enough. So nowadays you can look at the pros, you can look at the videos, you can see how regimented the pedaling motion is, how very stable the ankle is. There's very few differences in the pro peloton now. Back in the days you could still find riders that at very early stage started with their own style, had good results throughout their career. No one will actually want to change the position. As long as they are winning, no one is going to touch the position unless they have an injury. So guys, if you look at all the youngest riders now, they all have the most beautiful technique, and it's very similar to the forward position, stable ankle, correct saddle height that I'm proposing.
No, I really enjoy your rides, and yeah.
Thank you. You can see some of my followers also go on the mountain bike. Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I'll swap it up, you see, so I'll get a good mixture, go off-road, and you know, it's
well
good.
Done.
Yeah,
well done.
So, yeah,
good to see you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Of course, you won't be able to achieve a forward position, a powerful position, if your saddle tilt is not correct. The pain from a saddle pointing up, not the best, and will prevent for you to rotate the pelvis forward. That will allow you, of course, to be on top of the pedals and pushing down and backwards. Yeah, if you feel that your bike is pushing backwards, makes you counter rotate your pelvis, definitely act on the tilt, and that would be also for you easier to reach the handlebars. Sometimes people want a shorter stem. That might be the cause of the wrong saddle tilt rather than a wrong size of the bike. You can pedal the way you want. Guys, performance cycling is not ballet dancing. I don't want to see you pointing the toes, reaching with your ankle, flexing the ankle so much because you have to reach out for the bottom of the stroke. Guys, as stylish as it might seem, that's not the way that you can really put down the watts on your pedals. And next time I see you, I will tell you, yeah? No. If you want to challenge me, let's meet here. I will try to practice what I'm preaching. Guys, let me know in the comment as usual if what I said makes sense. As usual, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you to the next video. Ciao.